How y'all doing today? Hope everybody been good. Hope y'all had a good weekend. Just wanted to drop in, give y'all a quick little video today. Today's video, I wanted to react to a couple of videos I had seen. We were talking about different things. The first video they talking about is, in our community, is our egos stopping us from getting wealthy. The second one is talking about people that don't like to spend any money. The third one is talking about social media. And the fourth one, it's not a video, but it's the topic I would like to discuss, is deep work. Well, this thing called deep work. So let me start with the ego one and just reacting off that. And these the Black Wealth Rebels, I like to watch them. They drop videos all the time, so he had a good point that I like.
I believe it might be an audio book too, I'm not sure, but excellent book, one of my favorite books of all time. And because of the way that he tells the story and also what he's talking about. Because ego can get in the way, and we all have an ego. That's the thing. You people try to deny, I don't have no ego. We all have an ego. But do you have control of said ego? And is that ego getting in the way of you building wealth? Because you're so worried about what somebody else did or somebody else got. We got to stop paying attention to everybody else get wealthy and get wealthy ourselves. If we truly want to be good stewards of capital for ourselves and future generations of our family, we got to let the ego go aside, yo. We really do. We really do. Any help I can provide in any.
So yeah, I was watching that video and it was like, man, that's interesting. Is your ego in the way of you building wealth? And me personally, just my personal experience, personal observation, I'm gonna answer the question of yes. As a community, I feel like our egos is holding us back from becoming financially secure, wealthy in the future. And just my personal experience, I've missed out on a lot of money from dealing with my ego and, having to deal with that over the years. I remember when I was younger, and I think we always just had them like young and dumb phase where you say you're just feeling yourself when you're younger. And I did a lot of things when I was younger out of ego and then missed out on a couple of dollars. And I, like you said, bro, we all have egos. I still have an ego. But I think it's one of them things where once you're aware of your ego and you learn to let go, not of your ego completely because you can always have one, but you learn to let go and to just delete it. And just stop trying to prove points of it. It makes your life so much more peacefuler. I don't even know this word, more peaceful. Because you when you wake up and you just always trying to prove something to people can't tell you nothing. It's just, I don't know. So when you learn to let go of a lot of things and just just live your life for yourself, it makes life a lot more easier. And one of the things we need to be aware of is, I think it's scary because sometimes I see people where they don't even realize they're super duper egotistical. And I think that's a big problem. How could you fix a problem if you're not even aware of the problem? So for one, we just need to be aware that all of us have egos. And for two, we need to ask ourselves the question, is my ego getting in the way of me building wealth for me and my family in the future? And a lot of us got to start asking that question, like our actions, looking at our actions of what we're doing. I see a lot of times where we get in the jewelry and the really nice cars and all that, and it's okay if you can afford it. Like I said last video, if I have $100 in my pocket and I walk in the store and I buy $1 bag of chips, are you gonna look at me like I'm crazy? No. So if you got the money, for sure, but I'm seeing it where a lot of us don't even have this money to begin with, but our egos is not forcing us, but our egos got it where we get stuff and it's like, y'all, look at me. I'm getting money, but at the same time, you really don't got no money. And I wanted to dive even deeper and talk about 3 themes I see when it comes to our ego and our community and things I've dealt with. So the first one I'd like to talk about is like where you have them people that's like they can't get a job because their ego won't let them. Not that they can't get a job, but like they refuse to go work a job because their ego won't let them. The people that be like, I'm my own boss and I can't work for nobody, That's 110% ego. And say if you are a business owner, that's a super duper blessing. You are your own boss and you can make your own schedule and you don't gotta do anything to when people say things like you're your own boss. But sometimes I see it where the business might just be where you barely making it, but you refuse to go get a job. And we got to start asking. Look, I'm gonna keep asking. Is your ego built in the way of you building wealth? It might be a situation where you might have to go back to a job for a little bit and build your business back up, but your ego won't let you. And even if you do go back to a job, your ego's so full that like, man, all the manager just said was go get a box, and you tripping. So we gotta realize. I had to deal with this personally, where it was like, I was self-employed, and I'm like, I had to tell myself like, damn, bro, it might make more sense to go back and get a job and build on the side. And it didn't work out 110%, because like I say, jobs are not all that bad in the sense of they're more stable most of the time, typically less stressful, not all the time, and you got health insurance and things of that nature. So that's something some of us might have to ask ourselves when, say you're a full-time business owner, maybe the business then had a halt, or, whatever that happened. Is it time to go back to a job for a little while until you could build your business back up? Because there's something I see a lot where where a person is just flat out broke and they still refuse to go back to a job. The other one I see a lot is where we have some people that be like, I have my own everything. And that's a super duper blessing. Whether you have your own apartment, car, and stuff, you doing it. But I'm going to be tricky with saying that, because sometimes we have it where some people it's not an option, where they maybe got kicked out of their parents' house at an early age, or whatever the situation, they had to go get their own everything. But so I'm going to ask, sometimes if you do have the option where possibly you could get a roommate, or maybe if you want to go back to your people, and it come back to the question, is the ego in the way of you building wealth? And I had to deal with this one personally, because it's like, okay, I can pay all my bills comfortably, and but even if I did keep my own apartment and all that, I probably still down the line would be financially secure eventually, but I could fast track that if I got a roommate and I'm saving $500 a month. And that $500 a month turning to $6,000 a year. And let me not say saving $6,000 a year, because, well, I try to save money, but some people, they're just bad at saving to begin with. Let's say I have $6,000 a year to play with, and obviously I would hope I save most of that money, but you still want to have some fun and stuff for yourself. So if I'm able to save $6,000 a year, and over 5 years, there's 6,000 times. That's 30,000, extra 30,000 I had at my disposal. That could fast track, because if I didn't put hopefully a lot of that 30,000 to some more things are gonna make me money. That's fast tracking, and it's one of these things where a lot of young people, I'm gonna answer it from both ways, where they say they might have their own everything, but they can't save no money because all their money is going towards bills. It might make sense to get you a roommate so you could free up a couple dollars to put towards savings. Or it might make sense where you might want to move back to your people crib for a little while just so you can stack a little bit and you can get some cushion between, remember I keep talking about that check-to-check survival mode. Sometimes that's stressful, so it might make sense. But our egos won't let us move back, because we got to show people that we're doing something. And the second part of that is sometimes it's our egos where we have to go get the luxury apartment that we don't need, or we have to get the more luxury car that we don't need. And I'm gonna say it again, if you can afford it comfortably, cool. Even if you can't, you still could just live in a regular apartment, just save more money, Because one of the things I'm seeing, I want to emphasize with our community, is let's get ourselves established first. Let's get the money first before we start looking like the money. Excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry, I just ate. Sorry. We like to look like the money before we even got the money. And the reason why is because it takes time to actually get the money. It takes time to actually put your money into assets and let those assets appreciate over years. Yes, years. Usually it's years. Because we want to just look like it now. We don't want to wait. And I think that's a problem. It's just an opinion, but, So if you are a person that you have your own everything, and maybe it's hard to save money because it's going towards all your bills, and you in a situation where maybe you could get a roommate, or do something like that, or maybe even cut back from the luxury apartment to a regular apartment. Ask yourself, is it your ego that's not letting you make that move? And the last one I see is people that are scared to try things because their images in their head, they're just perfect, like they can't fail. And I think that's our egos of like whether you want to start a business or something, like you can't do it. Your ego won't let you because you're scared to look how you gonna look in front of people, and your mind won't let you. Like this, I think that's a problem because it's 110% not gonna work if you don't try it. I'm not gonna be one of these people that say it is gonna work, but your chances do go up if you actually do try it. So we have to ask ourselves: is our ego? Is it your ego telling you like, hey man, because you got some people that are just flat out scared to do stuff, and I'm like, why? And I understand it, but it's like, man, time gonna keep going by. You done waited 2-3 years to jump off in the water where you could have been swimming by now. You could have been on the other side of you know what I'm saying? So, jump. Time gonna keep going. It's not gonna slow down for nobody. Put that ego to the side. Look yourself in the mirror. I might sound crazy, but I talk to myself sometimes, and I tell myself, like, bro, you ain't did nothing, because I really haven't. But it keeps me humble to, like, where I got to keep going. Where I'm trying to get to, I haven't got to. So I had to check my ego and say, bro, you is not nobody. Keep going, And like I said, I might sound crazy, but that's what I got to do. I look myself in the mirror, and you got to, for one, be aware of your ego. Like, I think it's dangerous if you're a person and you don't realize that you have an ego, because we all do, like he said in the video. The second one, hold on, let me make sure I covered everything with that one. Something I do personally if you facts. And I just went on that tirade, but if you ever heard, I remember Jay-Z had the line, sometimes you need your ego, you have to remind these fools. And that's true, sometimes you do, but find that balance. Don't let your ego hold you back from attaining wealth and securing you and your family's future, The second one I want to talk about today is super savers. So I was watching this video, and it was talking about like where a financial advisor was saying like they have some clients where they've been saving money for like 40, 50 years, and now that they got the money, they secured, they towards retirement, and they still refuse to save the money. I think that's really, really dangerous. And I think it's a rare problem to have in our society, but I think it's more catered towards them like older generation people. And I think we might all know this type of person. And I disagree with it, me personally, but I think it's a good problem to have. You actually got the money to spend. Excuse me. A lot of us where usually it's the other way around, where they just spend all the money and they can't save. So just flip. I guess it's flipping roles this time. So I think it's one of them things where, like I said, I definitely disagree. What's the point in working so hard in life if you don't want to, enjoy any of the money? But I'm not gonna bail nobody out. Like I said, if you just spending all your money to the point you can't save it all, I disagree with that as well. I think it's one of these things where you have to find your balance. And I say the word balance a lot, but I think if you're a person that's trying to get right financially, you'll realize over time the balance word is very tricky, because it's really, really hard to find balance. You'll think you might have it figured out, and then you tip the scale this way, or you tip back this way. So I think it's one of the things where balance is hard, but we have to, what I'm saying? And I'm looking down at my notes, y'all. Like, me and my stepdaddy, we was just talking about this, where it's like, me personally, I have a problem where, like, I work a lot. And, I'm very content with myself and why I work a lot. I understand why. But it's sometimes where it's like one of these things where I need to chill out. And I'm supposed to be at home chilling, but I'm still thinking about money. And it's like, I could be missing out on money, but this is my time to chill. And I done had to battle with that over the years, and I still battle with that to this day. And, sometimes you want to chill, go with the family, or go do something for yourself. But it's like, in my mind, like, damn, I'm missing out on money. So it's like, I deal with this myself. But going back to the topic of a person that doesn't want to spend any of your money, it's not as easy if you're like, cause it's like if you've been a person where you literally get your check, you save it, and you've been doing it for 40 years. That's how you know. It's not gonna be one of these things where you magically just one day start spending money. And y'all remember when I talk about what I was saying, when I talk about your budget and when you're doing tracking your income expenses, I try to tell y'all put something in your budget where you have a fun spending account. Like you spend it for the fun, cause like it's one of these things where if you working this hard, what's the point? Like I seen a statistic the other day where it say people spend 1/3 of their life working, and that's just on a 40-hour work week. So think about people that work more. So if you're gonna work this much in your life, you want to enjoy some of it. I'm not saying go crazy, but spend some of it. You feel me? Put it in your budget, because like I said, if you've been doing this for 40 years just saving, your brain is automatically wired to save. It's gonna kill you to try to go spend some money if you've never done it before. So ease your way in. And if you are a person that's old and you watch the video and you refuse to spend money, you have a little bit of money to spend, go take a trip one day, because eventually you just got to do it. If not, you just never gonna do it. Like, just jump. Like, as hard as it feel, like I think when it comes to finances, like I said, this is a unique situation because usually it's the other way around. But finances in general is very, very stressful sometimes, because for a lot of us, we have to unlearn what we've been taught all our lives. If you've been doing stuff for a certain way, like, okay, let's the usual. Most people can't save money. So if you've been getting your check and blowing your check for 30, 40 years, you're not magically one day just going to be able to save. You've been doing it the other way all the time. So if you're a person that's been saving all this time, it's gonna be hard to just go spend money, but you gotta do it. And then once you do it, it's probably gonna feel weird, but go do it again and keep doing it. Now, like I said, don't go just blow money, but go enjoy yourself a little bit. I'm telling you, I done been here. I done been there too, but you gotta unlearn. If your brain's wired a certain way, you got certain habits, it's not just gonna magically stop. If you smoke cigarettes every day and I come tell you, hey, quit smoking, you probably not just gonna stop smoking cigarettes, So we have to unlearn our habits, and it's gonna be hard, but it's possible. And I got this quote I was talking with that said, when you become the person, the hard things becomes the natural things. The fitness person doesn't find it difficult to eat healthy, they find it difficult to eat unhealthy. The CEO doesn't force themselves to show up and lead, they force themselves to take a day off. The writer doesn't struggle to sit down and write, they struggle to stop. So it's one of those things, and it's trying to find that balance, which is gonna be hard to find. But I'ma always encourage saving more than playing. Like, don't be out here just blowing your money recklessly. But if you are a person that like to save a lot, start spending a little bit as well. You ain't gotta do nothing crazy, but just ease your way in. The other one I want to talk about is social media. So I was watching this Andy Frisella video, and he had this quote: social media is no longer I wrote it wrong. Social media is no longer where we are connecting with our friends and family. That is not what social media is now. It is a full-blown propaganda culture bending mechanism that is used and forced collectively by the biggest companies in the world to make people believe things. My bad, I wrote it all wrong. But I think that's 110% right. I'm not for sure if when people designed social media in the beginning that this was they wanted to be in the end, but it turned to, sort of kind of, I ain't gonna say dangerous, but we got to pay attention. Obviously in the beginning, it was a thing where we could connect with our family and friends. Maybe our family stay across the country, we still be able to contact them. I think that's what it was sort of kind of meant to be in the beginning, but now it's then turned to something else. And I was watching this video one time, and they was talking about, like, I forgot who it was, like, but it was like, it's not a coincidence that some of the richest people in the world own these social media platforms. So you look at Elon Musk and Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. You look at, obviously, Mark Zuckerberg, that's his what he came up off of. But even if you look at TikTok, think, hold up. Who owns, let me see, Larry Ellison. Who owns TikTok? I think, it is, okay, Oracle, because Larry Ellison is one that people don't really know. But even him with TikTok, I don't know. Pretty sure he don't own TikTok outright, but his company. So he's the founder of Oracle. I know Oracle has something to do with TikTok. So you know what I'm saying? Like these some of the most richest people in the world. So I think it's one of these things where we have to be careful. And I'm not trying to be like on no like conspiracy theorist vibe, but one thing I see with our people when it comes to social media is we use social media as our news outlet. Like that's where we get our news, and I think that's a big problem because a lot of things on there is just flat out wrong, you know. So we're just being misinformed, and even before the artificial intelligence and all that, like a lot of stuff on there is just wrong. Cause like one thing I try to do is like if I see something on social media, I go fact check it on like Google or something, and if you start doing that, you'll see like most of the stuff on there is just not true. Obviously a lot of stuff on there is true and it is good, but I feel like it's one thing where the bad is always going to outweigh the good. So we got to get back to where we're reading books and we're going to reputable sources and we're just learning as a community. Like I think with social media in our community, it's most of us when we're on there, it's just BSing. Like whether it be the shade room, say cheese, like that's not really just watching celebrity drama and all that. It's not really doing nothing for us at the end of the day. And obviously you can have your entertainment and stuff, but we also gotta make sure what are we consuming? Like we have to make sure we're still putting good stuff in our mind of like learning and progressing and getting skills and stuff like that. Like just doom scrolling all day is not really doing that for us. And I'm not saying guilty, I'm innocent of that. Like I do it as well, but at the same time I also try to make sure I'm putting good information in my ear of learning different things, whether it be history, learning how to do the skills, and just making sure I'm putting good stuff in my mind as well. Because like I said, the way social media is set up in our community, most of the stuff is just, if we're being honest, just BS. Like let's be honest. So we have to make sure we're being careful with that. And the last thing I want to talk about, I think that sort of kind of goes in with it, is the concept of deep work. It is, I don't know if he came up with the concept. I want to say his brother named Dan Newport. I'm probably saying Dan. That ain't his name. Dan Newport. Deep work. It's not. What's brother name? Hold up, y'all. I'm about to find it. My bad, y'all. His name Cal Newport. But he has the concept of deep work, and I think this is really, really powerful. He has a whole book, but just making a long story short, deep work is it's a book, but it's like where you can focus. Argues that the ability to focus without distraction on cognitively demanding tasks is a very valuable skill in today's economy and allowing for faster learning. Like, I haven't read the book. I used to watch a lot of his I used to watch a lot of like his podcasts and interviews, and it's very powerful. So like deep work is you cutting off all distractions. You working. Whether you have a window where it's 2 hours a day, 3 hours, maybe it's 1 hour a day, and you no phone, you just working on your tasks. Whether it be you're in school and sorry y'all, and you're just getting schoolwork done, or if you're working on business, whatever, you dedicate that time each day or maybe a couple days out the week and you just work. No phone or nothing. And that is super duper powerful because I think we've all been here, man. You say you about to work on something, you pull the computer up, and 5 minutes go by, you go check Instagram. Okay, you get back to work, you work for another 6 minutes, and then your homeboy call you, or you work another you look up and you ain't really did nothing. It's been 2 hours. So with the deep work, it's like where you put your phone up or you turn your phone off. I remember I used to be so extreme with it. So I used to leave my phone in the car because I know for a fact if I'm trying to work, I'm not just gonna walk to the car just to check my phone. No, I'm gonna do my work, then I can do that. So basically it's like whatever you're doing, whether it be school, business, learning, whatever, you dedicate, say, like an hour out the day or 2 hours out the day, and you just work. No distractions. If you had kids, you put them down, let them watch TV, you working. And obviously it's harder if you have maybe a family or something to tend to. But if you're a person where you not necessarily have a family and you got a lot of time on your hands and stuff, work. No distractions. Because you know how it be. You got that phone near you. You're going to keep checking it, you know what I'm saying? And maybe I need to make a whole video about this one day, because I don't think I read the book, but I definitely used to watch a lot of his interviews. I think he be coming at it from like a more like psychological. He's like anti-social media, and he makes a lot of sense. Like, as people, it's hard for us to be bored, and we in a world now where we can't be bored, and I think that's really dangerous. I think when you're a person that could be bored and you can sit down and you could just chill, you become a very powerful person. But now we have it where we're in a world where we always have access to something, we always can do something, when you can just sit down, chill, you become super duper powerful, because now you can focus, now you can think clearly. You're sober, your mind, you know what I'm saying? You just constantly going now, you constantly doing everything, you constantly fulfilled. Like, you're not really fulfilled, but you just constantly getting that dopamine, and it's bad dopamine. It ain't gonna work. I feel like it's easier when you can just chill and you can just focus on your goals, and here and there you're gonna have your fun and you're gonna do out, but for the most part you're just bored. And I think that's necessary if you want to get ahead in life. And it's one of these things where it take years. You know, I do see a lot of times where I see like the 90-day grind and I see the 6 months, but I think for the average person to really get ahead in life, it's gonna take years. I know I sound crazy when I say that, but it's true, man. I don't know. Like I said, you gonna have people where you're gonna have people where they just blow up out of, I don't know, whether it be business, the lottery, whatever happens. But for the average person, that's not going to happen. So if you really want to get ahead, you're probably going to have to sit down for a couple years and miss out. And that's okay. And obviously in between, you're going to take maybe a trip, or you're going to do stuff, you're going to buy stuff. But for the most part, sitting down, focus on goals, and just locking in. And the average person can't do that, I'm aware. But once you become a person that can, I'm telling you, but you're gonna see the difference. But, you know, I done talked y'all heads off. If you still here, man, I truly appreciate y'all. Next video is coming out. I did a video last week where I was talking about basically the history of our money in the 20th century, where I was talking about, you know, I did like a basic overview of what is money, the gold standard, the Federal Reserve, stuff like that. But I think in that video, it was sort of kind of like I was talking about topics, but I didn't really explain them well. So now these next couple of videos, I'm going to try to have it where we're on like the economic side of things, where I'm going to break that video down into smaller videos. So where I got a video coming out in a couple of days where I'm talking about what is money, and not necessarily in the sense of like, obviously we all have a definition of what money is, but from an economic perspective, I really didn't know. And once I understood that, it really made me understand things a lot better when I understood the history of the first monies and how people use money in times, even coming down to the 20th century and even today. Like, I just see things a lot better now, understanding it when I did learn that, and talking about the gold standard and breaking that down and talking about inflation, just breaking those down into smaller videos and making sure I'm explaining those well. Because I think last week when I was talking about them, it might have been a lot of people that was watching, they understood what that was, and they understood a lot of stuff, but it might have been a person that might not have understood that, and then maybe I was like confusing. So just really breaking those videos down, and then, you know, just I'm going to keep putting out the personal finance content, the money management content, but now also starting to dive a little bit deeper into like the history of money and the history of how our system and stuff work, and just even present day, because I think once you understand that, it opens your eyes a little bit to how you should be handling your money now. But like I said, man, I truly appreciate y'all if you did watch this video. If y'all could like, comment, subscribe, and, you know, tell a friend if y'all do like the content. Give me feedback, different videos y'all want, things of that nature, man. Appreciate y'all. Y'all stay blessed.